Hey, welcome to episode 8 of my guitar improvisation loop series. This is part of a collection of chord progression loops where we can get some real hands-on practice with all of the scale diagrams and arpeggios on the screen to help guide you through your improvisation so you can get better at mastering the fretboard. And today we're going to work with a really great progression. It's one of the most common you'll ever find in Spanish guitar music. It's a 1-4-5 in the key of E minor. We have an E minor chord, A minor, and B7, and that is the basis of the A section of a very, very famous classical piece by Francisco Tárrega called Adelita. So those are the chords there. E minor, A minor, that's the 4 chord, then B7, and it resolves back to E minor, and then it repeats again. Really beautiful melody. The second half of that song, the B section, goes to the parallel major of E major, but we're just working here with the minor part because this is such a great chord progression and something that we really should master and be able to improvise all over the neck in that key. So as I said, the E minor chord is the one, lowercase Roman numeral 1. So we'll be playing an E minor scale. Key signature for E minor, we only have 1 sharp, all the F's are sharp, but we have a monkey wrench that always gets thrown into our Spanish guitar improvisation stuff when we have the harmonic minor scale rearing its head over the 5 chord B7. Notice in the B7 chord there's a D sharp rather than a D natural, so that's where the harmonic minor scale manifests itself. So we want to be careful over that chord to hit a D sharp if we can, or avoid a D natural. If you do play a D natural, it still can sound cool. That renders a B7 sharp 9, but it's going to sound wacky over that chord because I am playing in the chord progression loop a D sharp chord. So on the screen you'll see all of your arpeggios for each chord as they pass. Not too tricky, except for the chords are not lasting that long, right? It might be easier practice if we went like this, 1, 2, 3, 1, did like 4 bars in 3/4 time of each chord just to give you time. But that's the challenge here, is that can you reference the new chord as it comes up in the next measure. So we're going 1, 2, 3, right to the next chord, 1, 2, 3. So if you're playing your scale, this is a great scale shape that I'm playing. You can call this the A form minor scale or the C form major scale. Some people call it the Phrygian box. Inside of this box, E minor would look like this, A minor would look this way, the D form, and then B7 will look like that. So when you're improvising, try to land on notes in the chord, but you don't have a lot of time. That's the challenge here, right? So you might, for the first phrase, go, I landed there because I can see that in the chord. Then that C note is in the A minor chord. So you don't always have to land on notes in the chord, but it really makes it sound like you know what you're doing, that you're really following the chords and that you're listening, and it sounds appropriate. So any guitar solo that you hear on the radio, any popular song, the guitar solo is 99% of the time landing on notes to punctuate phrases when you dwell on a note, landing on a note that's in the chord because that sounds good, right? And that's why it's on the radio. If they do something wacky, it's probably not going to be a popular song, right? So we can take any guitar solo that you know and try to start thinking about how they're playing over the chord. The guitarist to write that solo is thinking about the chords. It's all about the chords, okay? So let's run through our 5 shapes in the key of E minor, E natural minor, and then we'll get this loop going, and you can practice this on your own doing the natural minor scale in E minor and the harmonic minor scale when B7 rolls around. So our first position here looks like this. Now we'll go up here to the second position, and we have this shape. This is exactly the same notes. We want to know our 5 patterns of the major and minor scale. The major scale is here, and the minor scale begins right there. Now we're up to this position. We can step out, or stretch your pinky. Same exact scale, we want to know both ways. This one we talked about. Okay, and finally this shape. So here comes the loop. We're going to have all the chords on the screen. The scale is going to stay intact as we go through all of these chords, but you're going to see the arpeggio notes highlighted of whatever the chord is at that moment. So grab your guitar and start improvising in the key of E minor to a 1-4-5 chord progression.